Sami, you've worked a little bit of everywhere, or at least been seen on TV a little bit of everywhere over the last year. How is that different from a couple of years ago? Because it didn't seem like that was an option for virtually anybody a few years ago, let alone the number of wrestlers that are doing it now.
Well, wrestling's changing right now. The time and age of the territories of people working against each other is at its all-time end. Like, it's not going to happen anymore. Wrestling has to change. I think Impact finally realizes that. I think the wrestling world is starting to realize that. WWE, like it or not, has a monopoly on wrestling, and they might always have. But there can be a true alternative if everyone else works together. It just shows the amount of wrestling fans there are in the world. Last year for WrestleMania weekend, there was 200,000 people in Orlando, but only, 80,000 went to WrestleMania? So there was an equal amount of people, if not more, there just to do all the other events, the conventions, watch all the other shows. So it's a really cool time to be a professional wrestler. And me, personally, being able to show up everywhere, I think it kind of helps my character. It helps my gimmick to the fact that I am the worldwide desperado. You never know where I'm going to show up. I'm blazing trails and being a cowboy, and that's what I'm always going to be. And right now, where I am in my life, being able to wrestle for Impact, Lucha Underground, sometimes New Japan, you never know where I'm going to show up, and I always like to have that allure about me.
And Konnan, you've had your hands dipped in several promotions as well. Like, what do you think about the changes that have been made in that regard?
Bro, I've been advocating that people should be working together for years. It's been, I've always been a guy that's tried to break the exploitation and the monopoly that there is in wrestling. And it's just, like, for example, I remember one time when I was working for Crash, we did this thing with the Hardy Boys. And just because the referee, I think it was maybe Marty Elias, had shown up on Crash, and they showed that match on Impact, they sent them a cease and desist letter. And so we actually digitalized the referee's face, and it was that petty. It's like, really, dude, that's what you're getting mad about? We should all be fighting. We should all be uniting, because at the end of the day, we're all fighting for breadcrumbs, and if we all get together, we can make a big pie. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that finally Impact is working with AAA and everybody's starting to kind of work together, because, like, now the power's in the wrestlers' hands, and people like, Sami and the Young Bucks and Joey Ryan and, Ricochet before he went to WWE were clear examples of that. You can make, Matt Riddle, you can make really good, the Lucha Brothers, you can make really good money, and so now the power's gone back to the wrestler. And I think promotions have recognized that unless they start, being more just and fair in the way that they work with talent, that talent isn't going to want to work with them.
Sami, I know that you've been on a couple of cards with Brian Pillman Jr., who has just kind of started his wrestling journey. Do you have any impressions of him early on and what you think of him?
Yeah, absolutely. Pillman Jr. has started training with me, Dave, and Jake at the OI4K Wrestling Academy in Dayton, Ohio, which just opened up. Which we have like 23 students right now, but he'd already been training for a little bit at OVW, and he wanted to just train under some new people, learn some new things, and we've kind of taken him under our wing now for the last couple of weeks, and he's hungry. He has a great look. He's going to be a big star, like it or not, no matter what. So I'd rather him jump on our bandwagon and be part of our team where we can get him and really help him and gear him towards the right direction.
And Konnan, any thoughts of that? Have you seen any of Pillman Jr. yet?
No, I have not. I met him when I actually went to the Brian Pillman Memorial, so he was like a little kid at that time. I haven't seen nothing of him, and I hope that, he picked up a lot of his dad's characteristics, because his dad was one of my favorite realest guys that ever existed in this business. And I give a little shout out to Sami and his crew, because they're starting to produce a lot of talent out there. I've actually used a couple of their boys, and they're well trained. Like I used Trey Miguel. Who's another guy that I used from your camp, Sami?
What was the question again? I'm sorry, you kind of broke up at the end.
I was actually putting you over, which will be the last time during this call, which was I was saying that you have a school and you've been putting out some really good prospects, because he was asking me about Brian Pillman Jr., and I used Trey Miguel, and there's another guy I used from that you guys trained that was very good too. I mean, you guys are starting to really produce some good, talent down there.
Absolutely. We brought Trey Miguel into the world, and now he's working for Aero Lucha, and he's going to start blowing up even more this year. We have Zachary Wentz and Desmond Xavier. Desmond Xavier already wrestling for Impact Wrestling, big star there. They're over at Dragon Gate right now, absolutely killing it together. Now we have Brian Pillman Jr. We have a lot of really good young guys coming through our system. We're trying to build our own territory in the Midwest. We're trying to build our own thing and say where the Midwest is, where it's at in America right now. We just had MJF and Ace Romero, who are two great young guys, move to our area, come under our wing, and start working for all of our promotions. And this is just the start of things. We're going to have more and more and more and more people move in. We just got a wrestler that just moved here from Syria that wanted to start training that speaks Arabic and a couple other languages that he has a ton of potential. The sky's the limit for our school right now, and I think in the next couple of years, like, our guys are going to be the guys getting booked everywhere.